Welcome to Rainbow Soul Vodcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and Lacrosse's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at rainbowsoul.show.
Welcome to Rainbow Soul Vodcast. I'm Hollis Taylor. I'm one of your astrologers. I do lots of natal birth chart readings. So I also do death readings. So if someone's died in your life and you'd like to learn more about their death, I'll take a look at it. And that's a special reading that I do. You can find that out at divineandrogen.com, which the link is in the description.
Hi there, I'm Bright Hawk, artist, author, musician, astrologer, storyteller, all that, yeah. You can find out more about me at brighthawkproductions.com and my book, The Dancing Hippo. And
I'm Lacrosse Ortiz, creator of the Fool's Journey Color Journal. Have a couple of things I'm working on, but nothing really major at the moment. You can find me on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram.
Oh, yes. And we are having an astrology class. So if you want to learn the basics, if you want to learn about planets, about your zodiacs and the aspects and the houses and how to read your chart, we have a 5-part series. And, it's going to be very detailed. And it's not going to be a big group of people. I'm talking about like 10 people. So you can bring your chart in and I can look at it. And when I'm looking at other people's charts, you can look at their chart and you can see what I'm talking about. So we'll do a lot of screen sharing on Zoom. And you'll be able to ask me and Bright Hawk direct questions about your chart and learning to read it. So that class is coming up. And it begins February 19th. You can sign up at divineandrogen.com. If you look at the website, you can sign up.
And it's a great way to get grounded in what we're talking about. So, this is an introductory astrology course, and I think Hollis is a great teacher. We go over the planets, the zodiacs, the houses, starting to understand aspects. And I have never taken an astrology class where I didn't learn something. There's always an insight where you go, that's why I do that? Or that's why so-and-so does that? Oh my God, I wish I'd known this sooner. So astrology classes are super fun. We try to make it fun. Highly encourage you to always learn more about whatever interests you. And astrology is a really great, never ending. Oh my God, you can never know it all. That's for sure. That's how I feel about music. I have passion for music and creativity, and it's because there's no end to how much you want to dig in. The more you dig in, the more you get, so.
Yeah, and it's just $25 a class, so it's not expensive. There's 5 classes. It's a 5-part series. All right?
You deserve to understand more about yourself.
Sure.
I feel like it's a great time saver. Like, most of the time, I'm usually wishing I had learned something decades before and how much time it would have saved me.
Especially around astrology. I always feel like we should have learned it in high school.
Yeah, your purpose, why you do things the way you do things, helps you understand your values, helps you appreciate and respect other people's values. Boy, I tell you, you look at your chart and then you start to understand we are all unique human beings.
And we're all on our own journey.
No one's astrology chart is the same. You can have similarities, but every single person is unique. And it's fascinating to find out how you do you.
Yeah, it's always fascinating. So, all right, well, let's get started and let's do a little meditation. So I want to invite you to take a minute to sit still, sit quietly, put your feet on the floor, feel yourself present in your body. And you can imagine yourself under the starry sky and the beautiful stars up above, and the moon glowing very bright, shining light to everywhere, with a beautiful full moon before you. And as you look up at the moon and feel your connection to the waters and the cycles of the moon speaks to you through your mind and helps you understand how what you have built, what you have brought into manifestation on the way to this full moon. And in the fullness of the moon, it asks you to look at the entire plate, to look at all that you have, and to check in and see, is there anything you're going to want to let go after this full moon? Whatever you brought into culmination in the last couple of weeks since the new moon, it's asking you, do you still want all of this? And it's tapping into your emotions, your intuition as to what you still need, and holding you close. And helping you understand your own cycles. Your own cycles with the moon. And as the moon speaks to your own intuition about what you've manifested and what might need to be let go in the coming weeks, the moon pulls back and reminds you that every single one of us has intuition. Every single one of us is connected to the moon, and that the way the moon pulls the tides in and out, the moon also pulls our own bodies back and forth. And our connection to the waters and to the moon. And as we come back into our body and feel the moon smile down at us, holding us in a gentle, intuitive, kind, and patient holding, that the cycles are slow and gentle, but steady and consistent. And as we pull back into our body, we recognize our connections, and we can be grateful for that connection. Come back centered in your body, centered in yourself. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel your bottom in the seat. Take a deep breath and stretch your hands and your fingers. And come back into your body in the here and now. Open your eyes and become present. Woo!
Thank you.
Thanks, Bright Hawk. That's beautiful. I'm glad that you contribute to that.
Well, thank you for the lovely meditation. It's
Oh,
good to be tuned into the moon.
it is. And if you're a Cancer moon, I'm just going to say this. You don't have any choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cancer moon.
If you're a Cancer moon, you should have a little app on your phone that tells you where the moon is, so you know what's going on, because you're going to feel it more than anyone.
And
It's
I would
the
also
ruling
say
planet.
that's probably true for Cancer and Cancer rising too. Like, you should just be aware of where the moon is, because you're always ruled by the moon, and the moon rules Cancer, and so the moon moves pretty fast and cycles, but it's consistent, every 28 days, right? And so you should just follow it and know, and because you're probably following a cycle to the moon, and when you're off of that cycle, it's probably because you're transitioning to a different way to cycle through the moon. Yeah, for sure. And I would say moon magic is your strength. So do lots of moon magic, pray to the moon, go out and be under the moon. I mean, it works for everyone, but I think for anyone with a strong Cancer placement, Cancer moon, Cancer rising, or Cancer sun, you need to tap into the moon. It just helps you so much.
Yeah.
Especially because Cancer, sometimes they don't know what they feel until it's pouring out of their mouth, until they're throwing the thing across the room, or crying. Then they're like, I guess I'm sad. Like, they didn't know they were sad before. They just kind of.
They're feelers, not thinkers about it. They
Mm-hmm.
don't think about how they feel. They just feel.
Yeah.
And then realize, as they're shouting, I must be angry, or as they're crying, I guess I'm upset about this.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's where our report starts, because on the 19th, we're going to be talking about the 19th to the 25th.
Yeah.
And the 19th is, of course, a Cancer moon, which means the moon is at home. And you know how you feel when you're at home? You want your space, you want to relax, you want to have the things that make you feel comfortable. And so when we start off with the week with the moon in Cancer, that's where we're at. The moon is, it's good to be home.
I noticed that moon was it's the biggest blessing of the day on Monday, is that it's in a minor trine with Jupiter and Saturn. And Saturn and Jupiter in a sextile, moon and Jupiter in a sextile, and then there's a trine between Saturn and the moon. And so that's actually really, really good, considering that we still have Chiron in opposition to the South Node. That opposition is still going on.
Yeah.
It's creating this thing where you're working through some old wound. You're working through some sort of old wound that you're trying to how can I say it? You're trying to find a way to overcome it, to change it. Maybe eating habits, maybe relationships, maybe old ways of doing things, whatever it is. Hopefully you're trying to get through that, and you're conscious about it. And then with that trine, though, I feel like with Saturn speaking to the moon, a Cancer moon, it's very much like you might want to check in with how you're feeling, especially with Jupiter there in Taurus. And Jupiter is very is usually kind of out here, but in Taurus it's a little bit more grounded and a little bit more practical, and we'll be like, well, wouldn't it feel more luxurious if if your house was clean, or if your relationship was smoother, or if you were able to have normal eating habits, or whatever it is, whatever's going on for you. Jupiter is going to be speaking to that. Jupiter is going to speak to what would the blessing be, and how would that feel for you. And so you'll start seeing why it would be good to change. Now, how to change, well, hopefully Saturn will speak to that.
Well, the word that keeps coming up for me is looking for the silver lining. Like shit happens, and then after things settle down, then you start to realize that sucked, but look what happened over here because of it. So I'm just going to say we've pointed this out before. We've talked a lot about it because Lacrosse and I are both in a healing phase of having recently had surgery. And February is an intense month. And it's intense because Pluto's moved into Aquarius, Venus and Mars, they're all conjunct right there. Aquarius is the stir the pot kind of sign. It's revolutionary. It's things have to change. Things are going to have to change around here because you've got all that action, Mars and Pluto and Venus. So it's going to push on our feelings. It's going to push on our relationships. It's going to push us to take action. It's going to push us about whatever it is that has to transform, will transform, period. Whether you're on the boat or not, shit's going to happen. So this is why I love doing these reports. This is why we listen to so many astrologers' reports, is because it gives you a sense of, oh, it's not just me. This is the whole world is experiencing this intensity. So this trine on Monday, I just want to say, oh, yay, a trine, because it's got some really good flowy energy where there's been an intensity to things that none of us can get away from. You can't crawl out of your skin, you can try.
I don't know.
I don't know how successful you'll be.
Mary Alice Collins, one of the people that watches our show, she had a picture of she had a picture of this man like pulling back somebody's face like this, and she was like, "Oh my God, this is how I feel like right now." And I was like, "No, that's because Mars and Venus are conjunct Pluto, honey. That's what's going on there." And it's
and you feel like you want to crawl.
Yeah,
out of your
and that's
skin.
pretty much what's been going on with Mars and Venus visiting Pluto. So if last week you felt a little bit like you were coming out of your skin or
wanting to,
like spirit or the universe was kind of peeling you out of your skin, that's pretty much what's going on.
But the beautiful thing I'm just going to emphasize about Monday, you have the moon at home in Cancer, and you have this beautiful trine to Saturn checking in, instead of being the heavyweight, it's saying, okay, so are things the way they need to be? And then you have a sextile to Jupiter with the moon. So sextiles are always positive aspects. And then you also, and I just want to emphasize this because it is a positive, you have the sun trine the moon trine the sun. And so that's also good energy because the sun, what does the sun do? It brings the light. It shines a light. So if there's something that needs to get the light shine, a perfect example, shame. Shame cannot stand the bright light of sunshine. So if there's something you're struggling with or someone else is struggling with, if we can bring love and compassion and shine light on it, name it, say it, it doesn't have power over us anymore. And that's, let's get out from under that. Shame is one of the lowest vibrating emotions there are. And whether we're doing it to ourselves or we're thinking about it with somebody else, bringing the light of sunshine to something that says, is this what's going on? Oh, they're acting weird because they're ashamed. Oh, okay, let's change strategies. Let's not be triggering that. That's not helpful. So there's a beautiful energy that we can take advantage of on Monday. I'm just going to say that can be that, wow, okay, I didn't see that before. Now I have this bright light about how I feel or how I think or someone else. And that can be a real positive.
Yeah, and I would listen to the intuition on Monday. Listen to your intuition. It's going to be very strong on Monday. Also, mediums would probably experience a pretty good reading day with Neptune sextiling Pluto. That'd be a pretty good reader day. Neptune and the moon in a trine. Doesn't matter what kind of reader you are, you'll probably have a pretty good day.
Yeah, and you definitely see the Neptune trine more on Tuesday. And
Mm-hmm.
then you have the unexpected because you have a sextile to Uranus. And Uranus, we know, is the whoa, didn't see that coming sign. Uranus is
But
the,
then you might realize that what you didn't see coming yesterday suddenly is like, oh,
yeah,
that's actually good,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, you might have questioned about it the day before, and then today, on Tuesday, you might be a little bit more like,
right.
woohoo, okay, that worked out better than I thought, type of deal. Um, Although the moon is in a square at the tip of a T square
That's
with
right.
the nodes. So it was a little, I seen that, I was like, oh no. Uh,
Yeah, it gets even more intense the next day. So there's
mm-hmm.
this T square with the moon. So we've already mentioned it. We're going to probably talk about it, especially the beginning of February, because it's just so much energy. That Mars, Venus, Pluto conjunction in Aquarius. The moon is now standing opposite,
Mm.
absolute opposite, and it'll be for about 2 days. It'll perfect. And then at the top
Oh,
of that,
next week? Is that
no,
when does
no,
that
Tuesday,
happen?
Wednesday,
Oh,
you
okay.
have the moon opposite Venus, Mars, and Pluto.
Mm.
And then the top of it, you're going to have Jupiter. To the T square starts with Chiron, and then it'll move to Jupiter
Oh,
as the facilitator of that opposition.
okay.
And so that opposition is, well, oppositions aren't easy. They are opposites. It's intense energy. And so the Jupiter, uh, well, on Tuesday, it's a trine to Neptune. So it's like you were saying earlier, readers, psychics. You have a trine to Neptune on Tuesday, Wednesday. That's awfully nice. That's a really lovely thing. Um, but then it's going to, as we get into Wednesday, that T square is going to get more and more perfected. And
I see that the T square, it could have a little to do with like emotions, and your emotions in regards to whatever you've been dealing with to
mm,
try to get rid of, like, whatever's been going on for you, whatever sort of old wounds you've been dealing with. Um, it could be old wounds, it could be your relationships, it could be, it's like a whole list of things like eating habits and living habits, lifestyle habits, maybe the way you spend your money. It's just going to depend on how things are are in your chart. But this opposition, Chiron is is sort of poking at an old wound, and so there might be some emotion that comes up on this day, on Tuesday, around that. And
mm,
that's what I'm thinking, like you're having this opposition anyway, and then there's some like maybe you have an emotional awakening is would be ideal, where even though it might be hard, you have an awareness. So like I had one of these a week or so ago, and I think there was an aspect going on that day with Pluto for me and the moon. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I just woke up and had this awareness that I probably wouldn't have dealings with my mother any ever again. And that she might pass. And, my mom's approaching 80, um, and I just know that that's true. Like there was just a part of me, because she was so cruel to me, right? And so that's the old wound part, right? But then the wounded healer stepped in, Chiron stepped in when I said, "Oh, I'm so grateful I didn't treat my son that way. I'm so grateful I did not repeat the things that I did to my mother, that my mother did to me, to my son. I didn't repeat them, right?" And so then that gratitude came up, and the gratitude that I still have a decent relationship with my son, and that I've worked pretty hard to keep and make sure that we had a pretty good relationship. And so that is Chiron in action. And there was definitely
mm-hmm,
an emotional like feeling to that.
mm-hmm,
And and so and and that's also working with some other things that I'm dealing with in my personal world around, and I'm actually one of the people that's dealing with eating habits, and maybe you are too, you know. I know there's another person that listens to this that's also dealing with eating habits. And so, just changing things, shifting things, learning how to be different in the world, spend money or whatever. And you might realize that there's an old connection, right? An old connection, an old wound. And so that's that moon, because the moon's at the
Yeah,
tip of that T square there.
right. Well, and I'm also thinking as you were talking that Chiron conjunct the North Node, which it's been conjunct for a while together.
A couple weeks now.
Yeah, that's really faded energy of like these are things that are playing out in long term that you can't, usually can't see it right away unless you do some reflecting, and then you're like, whoa, all those choices I made have now lined me up so that XYZ is now true.
Right.
Like you didn't, it's not one thing you did for your son, it's a lifetime of things you did
Yeah,
for
it's a
your son. Over
consistency.
30 years of consistency and doing it and choosing constantly as a parent.
To
Well,
love.
whatever my mom did, I'm going to do the opposite.
To love anyway.
Yeah, to love the best that you could. And so with the North Node and Chiron there, it just speaks to me of like the things that we're healing today. People don't think those little things are little.
No.
They're bigger than you realize. They stuff like that. And this is where I always feel like it doesn't, and because again, we've been talking a lot about Mars, Venus, and Pluto. Sometimes it doesn't matter what action you take, you just have to take an action. And if you do it in a meditative, I'm trying to do the best I can, I think this is the best choice, I'm going to go for it, it's not right or wrong. It's just a choice. And then there's another choice. And then there's another choice. Sometimes my meditation used to be, okay, just give me what the next right thing is to do. I don't have to solve the world's problems. I just need to know what's on my list of shit that I can take care of today.
And I think you have to be okay with making a mistake. So here's the other thing. I was in, I provide coaching for people, and someone said, I'm just afraid I'm really going to make a big mistake. And I was like, so what if you do? So what? And so everybody makes mistakes. Everybody gets to make mistakes. None of us are perfect. And we know that in theory, but sometimes we stop ourselves from doing things, or like I know there's some choices that I'm making in regards to a large medium group that I have that some people might disagree with, and I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers and piss some people off. And and I'm like, yeah, but this is what's coming down to me, that I need to shift this. And I know it's going to piss y'all off, and it's not easy. It's hard to be the leader. It sucks to be the leader sometimes. But I know that I need to head the group in this direction. Otherwise, it's going to crash into inactiveness. Okay. And so there has to be a way to head towards growth, and you're not sure, like I don't want to make a big mistake, but if it ends up being a big mistake, at least I tried. At least I didn't just walk away, give up, ignore, pretend it wasn't happening. And so that's kind of like the mistake you have to be willing to make. And and especially if you are a leader, if you're another leader, I'm just going to say, or you're the leader of your family, you're the parent, you're in a relationship, it would be way better to try to make it better, or to try to move forward, than to just pretend it's not there. Because almost never does pretending it's not there. That just doesn't work. It never goes away.
As one who has, I don't know, occasionally buried my head in the sand.
Yeah, right?
It doesn't work for very long. It might relieve very temporarily the symptom of the pressure, but only temporarily. And usually the relief comes when you've actually taken an action, taken a step, even if it was scary. And the only one calling it a mistake usually is you.
Yes, often. And usually it's our own judgment of something.
All right, so that's Tuesday, and a lot of what's going on in Tuesday flows into Wednesday. The T square with the moon then moves from from Cancer. Boy, yes, Cancer follows Leo. Leo follows Cancer. Virgo follows Leo.
This is when it
Okay.
starts to come into the
Yeah.
opposition of what you were
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
earlier, how the moon starts to come into opposition with Venus
Exactly.
and Mars. And frankly, Venus and Mars are conjunct. Okay, they are conjunct. They are on top of each other. So I'm just gonna say that so far, what I've witnessed in me watching transits and stuff, this also seems to trigger some relationship, especially heterosexual
Hmm.
relationships or relationships where there's a masculine person and a feminine person.
Oh, the Venus Mars.
Because masculine, some people are more masculine and they just come across as more masculine, which is Mars. And then Venus is a little bit more feminine, and that's where they identify. So if you have that going, it doesn't matter what your genitalia is. That's a crock of crap. But if you know, it's stupid. But if you have that, and there are some relationships that are two feminine people, two masculine people, and that's fine. But if you have a relationship where there is masculine and feminine coming together, which is a large percentage of relationships out there, you might find that one of two things is happening. Either number one, you're realizing, wow, our relationship is really awesome and we are wow, we're really committed to each other and I'm so grateful for you, right?
That
Okay.
would
And
be
so that's
us. That would be me. This is my chart right here. 0 degree Leo, opposite all that messiness in Aquarius. That I
and
have
so
this.
it's yeah,
So
because her
I am
moon is at
extremely grateful to my partner who has picked up so much extra work because I have a broken leg. I can't do half of the things. I can't do any of the things, which was half of the work here at the house.
right.
So
So
I'm just in profound gratitude that we are not only in a great relationship, but more resilient than I ever could have imagined.
but people are going to be experiencing this, which
So
is
this is
great.
one end, and
Okay.
I'm really
And
sad and sorry
that's
for the folks who are experiencing some of the opposite.
and if that's not happening in your relationship and you're questioning the relationship, then it could start to like Mars can create destruction, Mars and Pluto being right there. And then plus it's opposite the moon in Leo. So that's emotions. Okay. So that's going to be emotions could get high on this day, the February 21st, and probably, I think the next day as well.
Would you worry about self-sabotage with that configuration as well? Because that's what I also wonder about.
It would depend on the person's chart. The 12th house rules self-sabotage, and that's usually, I mean, the sun is in Pisces, so um with the moon in conjunct Pisces, and Pisces would rule self-sabotage. Um and
Really
so
important for you to know where your Aquarius placement is, what house that is. We could talk about that in the class. House placements tell you. So the zodiac is the planets are the what, right? The 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 houses are the where, and that tells us a lot about when we know where these placements are, what house it is, and it tells you a lot about how it's going to show up, how it will affect you. So that when we talk about the 12th house is known for shadow and self-sabotage, but it's also the occult and spiritual
and
and psychic. And so knowing where your
institutions.
Aquarius house is, that house placement tells us how will it show up.
Right. So the moon in Leo could mean there could be some arrogance about your position in the relationship or your perspective of the relationship, or it could also be that you're in integrity and the other person's not. It could just be that simple. And whatever is going on in your relationships, I'm just going to say take it one step at a time and always remember that if a relationship falls apart, there's often something better on the other side. Okay? That's what I'm going to say. If it falls apart, it's okay. This is probably part of your journey, part of your path. I've been in I don't know how many relationships, and it happens. Shit happens. They fall apart, and the trick is to not let it make you bitter. Okay?
Amen.
Don't let
Yeah.
it make you bitter. That's the trick. So,
And then the last thing I would say about the 21st is that the moon does have another trine to Neptune, and we love trines to Neptune. Again, that's great for readers.
readers are going to have a good week this week, I think, because the moon was first in Cancer, and then it's in these trines with Neptune, and then plus Jupiter. Jupiter is in a sextile most of the week with Saturn. So that's about systems, and Jupiter is about philosophies. Also, if you're teaching classes this week, this is an excellent time, which we will be teaching a class this week. And when Jupiter comes into a sextile with Saturn, because Jupiter's the philosopher. Jupiter's about, these are my philosophies, and Saturn's about, and here's the system to apply it. Okay, so I feel like Jupiter in Taurus is very grounded and practical, but also special and luxurious at the same time. So, and then with Saturn in Pisces, it's very about, so if you're teaching any kind of psychic things, teaching mediumship, or if you want to learn, this is a good time. Okay, tap into that, because Jupiter is, I can see how Jupiter would be particularly related to like spiritual teachings or like psychic teachings or mediumship, astrology, that kind of stuff. Okay. Did I do that right?
No, you skipped 22nd.
So Thursday the 22nd, the one thing that worried me a little bit was that on this day Mars and Venus will come into a pretty close square, and it will get stronger in the next day or so, like Friday, Saturday through the weekend with Jupiter. And with Venus, it makes me feel about money, makes me feel about action. So be careful about how much money you're spending on things and what you're spending them on and why. And just be careful of that. Jupiter continues to be in a sextile with Saturn. So we're still learning things, and we're still philosophizing about things, and things are getting bigger and better. And we are seeing a bit bigger vision, but just be careful about your money. And then also the other thing that I noticed, of course, was that the moon sextiling and trying the nodes.
Yeah. So there's definitely some faded energy, doesn't it feel like that? Because when the moon entered Leo, it was also in conjunct the sun. So there's that same energy that has a faded marking to it of things. The other thing that I noticed on this day was that again, the moon is going to be trining Chiron in the North Node. So once again, that's, if there's a theme I'm picking up from the week, with Chiron so involved, with the Chiron conjunct the North Node, things are there's an opportunity to heal, to think about your healing, to be mindful of your healing. Lacrosse and I are like, we have no choice. We have to be focused on our healing. This is the vibe. It's like, your nose is in it, It's just like, good luck getting away from me, So if there's something that you're feeling like you can't ignore it, that's the energy. That's why that's pushing there. And it, with it comes change. We have a square to Uranus, and Uranus is about that unexpected change. So hopefully it's not a 2x4. Hopefully it's...
I don't think so. I think if you emotionally apply, you'll be okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we're waxing towards the full moon, right?
Yeah. And so then as we get into Friday the 23rd, we actually have the moon in conjunct Neptune, which makes me go, you know what? If you're a reader, take this day off.
Everybody gets Friday off. Not a bad idea there. Just saying.
Yeah, just a thought. And the moon is also opposite Mercury in Pisces, so there's a couple signs there that might be a good day for the reader to take off. I mean, you might be okay, but I would just go slow on this day if you must and you have readings or whatever, go slow on this day.
This is when I feel sorry for the people who work in high intense jobs when there's full moons that come in like this, because this is kind of an intense one. You know, especially as the moon will be opposite, it'll start to perfect its opposition. Obviously, a full moon is opposite the sun, right? Well, the sun is moving right there with Mercury and with Saturn, and so it'll eventually hit all of those, all three of them. Those oppositions, we've talked about opposition energy. Oppositions are not easy. There's a full throttle like experience of the intensity. And so this feels like one of those full moons. This feels like, oh gosh, if you can avoid it, avoid the ER. If you can avoid it, be careful. Please don't have any accidents. It's so easy for me to say, but I know how accidents are what they are, accidents. It's not like you plan them.
Most of the time, no.
And so I just want to put everybody in a little bubble of bubble wrap and lots of love, because it's kind of a full intense full moon. The fact that it's in Virgo, when the moon gets to 4 degrees Virgo on the next day, on the 24th, it will perfect, or even later in the day, depending on where you are. The full moon will happen at 4 degrees Virgo. And what do we know about full moons? They have a full energy, don't they? They're intense, they're big, they're bright. And Virgo is about nurturing. It's about paying attention to detail. It's about making sure everybody's okay. Everything is the way it should be. Virgo moon is very, the moon in Virgo is very much about the collective and wanting to make sure everybody's good.
Yeah, I also worry about this moon opposite the sun being like it's opposite, so it means you're going to do one or the other. Yeah. So then the moon in Virgo, you could be worried about your health, and I should do this and I should do that, I should do this, but I really want to go out and have a good time. I really want to have that drink. I really want to, whatever is going on. I'm just going to warn that you're probably better off choosing the healthier choice. Only because
feeling the halo and the horns,
only because ear, right around the sun is Mercury and Saturn, and they're gonna restrict. They're gonna pull down restrictions, and could mean that you say the wrong thing or something like that with the moon opposite. Okay, so I would go with my moon in Virgo and be like, I don't know if I need to go out drinking Saturday night. Let me stay home. It would probably be your better choice. I'm just going to say that because they're in opposition, and you might just be one of those times that you have to make that choice. And, I myself have had to make that choice between, what's fun or what seems fun in the moment versus what I know to be better for me. And I think that's part of maturity, is learning to choose your healthier choice. Yeah. And I think that that's just part of becoming a mature adult. And sometimes some people will choose, to go out drinking, and hopefully nothing terrible happens, but sometimes some things that are unfortunate happen. And then hopefully they'll learn. And then next time they'll choose the healthier choice. Hopefully some people are slow in learning that. Some of us are a little faster.
We should have said happy birthday to the Pisces because the sun moved into Pisces this week. I forgot to say happy birthday to the Pisces at the beginning of the week.
Happy birthday, Pisces. Yeah.
And so when the sun is in Pisces, that's one of the things that we look out for. Is Pisces is definitely known for being one of the signs that is known to overindulge, particularly with alcohol and drugs. Pisces is known for
Pisces and
I
Sag.
just want to have a good time. And they're also Pisces like to see the good in everything, and so they don't always think through the ramifications of that's not always how things are going to work out. And that's why we sometimes just want to put a little gentle flashlight. The sun is flashing the light in Pisces,
but Saturn is in
Mercury.
Pisces,
so you have the brightness of the sun, the constriction of Saturn, because Saturn's always going to be the taskmaster, and Mercury, communicating freely in Pisces. Yeah, I just kind of want to put a little bubble wrap around Saturday and wish you all, wise
just be careful,
choices.
That's all. Just because Saturn and Mercury are also with the sun there in Pisces, and that's all. Just just be aware.
And if it just feels like it's a super intense day, just remember, say to yourself, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. Sunday will feel different because it will start to release. It'll start to wane. It'll start to, okay, now what do we need to do?
Right. What do we need to do now? And with the nodes now, the nodes are now going to start trining and sextiling Venus first, and then eventually Mars in the coming week, because they're starting to move into the later degrees of Aquarius and into the the teens. As they get into the teens, that will really help our destiny, our wounded healer, find its way forward. And Chiron is also moving out of that opposition. So Sunday, you might really feel some healing. Like maybe you did choose to stay home or not go drinking or not do that thing that wasn't as super healthy for you, not get involved with that guy or whatever it is. And so then you choose that, and the next day you wake up and you're like, I'm glad I didn't do that, right? Okay, and like I know
Applaud
a lot of us older people, we've had that experience so many times that we're like, oh, so good I didn't do that, and we're like, good job. Most of us have that experience.
Spirit who said maybe it'd be better if you.
And so you might be experiencing that. Or you might just be saying, good job making, you've made it the whole week and you've changed your eating habits, or you've changed the way you're thinking about this, or your lifestyle, or your money habits, or maybe your relationship has shifted, okay? Whatever it is, that will start to shift on Sunday, okay? Because Chiron's going to start moving away from the North Node now. Chiron's done its work. He's done what he had to do. He delivered the message about the wounded healer, and now he's moving away, okay? I hugely identify with Chiron, so I really get Chiron. And with the Lilith and the moon and Juno all together there in Venus, and they're going to come into a trine with Uranus, I feel like we're really going to go onto our track.
Yeah.
Uranus is going to put us on track. We're going to feel like we're getting on we're on the other side of the transition where we start to find the track pieces, when the train gets on the track and you're like, whoa, okay, here it is.
And it's going to be one of those weeks, especially we started off talking about folks who have strong Cancer placements. When we have a week like this where you feel the flow at the beginning, then it gets kind of intense, and gosh, why is it so intense? Like Friday into Saturday, I'm suspecting is not going to be comfortable. It's going to be a lot of intense energy. But then by Sunday, it's going to be amazingly I can breathe full again.
Yeah, like the train's getting on the track. That's how it's going to feel. It's going to feel like things are
I hadn't
things
realized
are going the way
I
you
stopped
need them
taking
to go.
full breaths, and now I can breathe again. Oh, this feels better.
Especially
So,
with the last couple of weeks being kind of intense
yeah,
with Venus and Mars visiting Pluto and all
that
that.
intensity is just like finally going to start to feel like, wow, okay, all
Yeah.
right, okay, I can focus now. I know how I feel about it. I know where I'm headed. I can do the next one right thing.
Right. So that's beautiful. I think, by the time you get to Sunday, you'll really feel on track with things. You'll really feel like the wounded healer visited you. You'll feel like the wounded healer within you. And I
And
think,
hopefully you'll find that silver lining. I was hearing at the beginning of this talk. I kept hearing when you were talking, it takes a while to find the silver lining. And I've been realizing that for myself. It took me years to recognize the silver lining of when I shattered my right knee in my 20s. Years later, no, 2 years later, I climbed the highest summit in the continent of Europe. It probably took 30 years for me to recognize that if I hadn't shattered my knee, I probably wouldn't have climbed the mountain. And then I started thinking about other challenges I had in my life. It was like, oh, I think it was 6 months after I recovered from cancer, I bought the house of my dreams. I don't think I would have taken action towards fulfilling even recognizing that I had a dream about buying a house unless I had been in that valley of healing crisis that made me wonder about what do I really want? What is important to me? What are the things I would really like to have in my life? Doesn't matter how ridiculous they are. And lo and behold, I started to admit things to myself that I hadn't admitted. And as soon as I verbalized them, guess what? Little by little, I started taking steps towards those things that had seemed pie in the sky impossible. And the next thing you know, I was signing papers to buy my house, and we live in the mountains, and it's a beautiful home, and I'm very grateful. So there's a part of me that's going, okay, this sucks. This last month has sucked. I listened to Michael Frante's song. I gotta give you this one. Michael Franti has a song called "This Is Amazing." Life is amazing. Life is amazing, and then it sucks, and then life is amazing, and then it sucks, and it's really true. It's a great little song. It's a little earworm from yesterday.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the silver lining will be out of this. It's too soon to tell for sure. But I know there will be something because I know I have a belief that we don't suffer for no reason, that when we're challenged, it's an opportunity to grow. And I know you know this, LaCrosse. You've been taking master classes and trying to take advantage of the opportunity. Feel free to throw in your 2 cents on all of this. This is not fun, but if you're going to be in it, you might as well make something of it, right?
Right. Right.
So
Well, speaking about the summits, well, we're going from the otter from playtime into the hawk. So, which makes total sense. Right now, it's all about going above the situation and seeing it with keener eyes and taking advantage instead of looking at these obstacles, start looking at opportunities and also understand that the hawk is not a social creature like the otters. The hawk is a solo bird. It only gets together when it mates and then right back solo. So sometimes, this is going to be a lonely time where people are going to start feeling alone. People are going to start feeling secluded. But take that opportunity to start looking at things with a different perspective and different vision and go above your situation. So, because that's what I'm taking out of this is with the hawk, I'm just going to take it aside, rise above this, look at it at a keener point of view. Because if we make such a rash decision, trust you me, you're going to be the first one to see it because you're going to be right there after you dove at 150 miles per hour and realize, oh shit, I didn't want that. So, just, you may know what you want, just go above and look at better perspectives. So,
good advice.
Yeah.
All right.
It's one of the things I love most about hawk is perspective.
Yeah.
And that's when I sometimes say, "Whoa, I need to get in my hawk body because I'm thinking like a worm and I need to think like a hawk. I need to see it all
Yeah.
and rise above."
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
So, do the
All
cards
right.
have
Well,
something for us today?
thank you to both of you for the insights about the hawk. And and thank you, Lacrosse, for pointing that out, that it's hawk season. And I'm gonna pull 3 cards from the Love is Love or Pride deck. You can find it on Amazon. It's, LGBTQ friendly, LGBTQ based tarot card. It's not just friendly; it is based on the LGBTQ community. And each one of these cards is done by a different queer artist, LGBTQ artist. Um, and so the first card, which is in our history, it's in the path position, um, actually is about choices. This is about a person that's taking a look at all their choices and figuring out what's the best choice for them. And this is also having those choices, like I've always pointed out that having a choice is a fucking privilege, okay? If you have a choice, it's a privilege. People sometimes die all the time, and sometimes it's by choice, but oftentimes it's not. And so if you still are alive and have a few choices, maybe you have a choice to eat better now. So you can be grateful for that choice. You can be grateful that you have the choice about a relationship. You can be grateful that you have the choice about what how you'll spend your money or what you'll do, because some people have no choices. And I just want to point that out. There's a lot of people going through that right now that are like stuck in the middle of conflicts like wars and things like that. And so the fact that you have a choice, try to find gratitude in the choice. I've always said that choice is a privilege. Um, so that's your choice in the past. And then this is about the now. And this is about messages from spirit, and important messages, and taking the time to contemplate them and get in touch with your emotions around that. And this is really about contemplation time, about being quiet and tapping into your heart and your soul, and tapping into what that means. Um, and so I think this is in relation to choices for sure, considering the other 2 cards. I'm just like kind of laughing right now, because this pretty much is this person listening for the messages from spirit and then choosing to make those choices based on that message. Okay. So based on that message, you will be led to your choice. Okay. So if right now you're not sure which way you want to go and you're trying to make a good decision, just sit with it quietly and listen for messages from spirit. That's what that bird is right there with the little heart, little Valentine. That spirit is actually, that the bird represents usually God or spirit or universe or whatever you want to call it. And it's delivering, or your spirit guides. Birds often represent that. Ask any medium. It's because of the freedom birds fly. And they are delivering a message to this person. And he's hopefully receiving that message. Okay. And then going forward, you'll be faced with a choice. You will have to go left or right, black or white, up or down. And that choice, whichever one you make, you will need to own it. But you'll be able to own it because of the contemplation that you've had, if that makes sense. So because of the choices that you've had in the past, then you're going to contemplate the choices, and then you're going to come to the choice. And that choice that happens will be very important. This could also be about travel. This could be about moving. It could be about changing location. And it could also be about making a particular choice that leads you in a particular direction. And yes, that's a trans person in like an old chariot with the Sphinx leading them. And I love the chariot card. The chariot card is very much about movement, traveling, making a choice. So remember, your choices what they have been in the past, and that choice is a privilege. Not everybody has a choice. Okay, just always remind yourself of that. Anytime you're having a difficult time making a choice or trying to choose or anything, just say, well, I'm privileged to have this choice, because some people don't. Some people are forced into situations that really suck. You know, so just take that moment to be grateful for that choice, and then take a look at all of your choices. Make sure you meditate on those choices. Make sure you take the time to listen to the messages from spirit, and make sure you hear them, and take the time to sit with your emotions. That's why this guy's sitting there with a cup of coffee, okay? Get yourself a cup of tea. Get yourself a cup of herbal tea. Go sit in a meditative place. Go sit by the waters. Sit in a garden. Sit outside. Watch a garden on TV. Watch waters on TV. Whatever you got to do, because I realize some people can't really go out to the park. So so take this moment to just meditate and be quiet with it, and just let it come to you. Because once it comes to you, you'll be able to take action on that choice. You'll be able to move forward, and you'll know whatever choice you're making is exactly what needs to be made in vibration with who you are and what you're doing in life. Okay. So I'm just going to say,
I
good
love
luck.
that. I love that reading. Feels very
Very
rich.
good.
Yeah.
And
And
it
I feel
also
like
feels like it's always so amazing how the cards will mirror the stars.
I just said
What
about
we
the week.
just talked about, the whole
Mhm.
cycle of the week feels like it just showed up in the cycle of the cards. It's really cool.
Sure did. Especially with the end there, that Chariot card. I feel like the Chariot card is a blessing. Maybe because I like traveling. Maybe because I'm trans. I don't know. But I've always liked the Chariot card even before I got this deck. But the Chariot card is very much about making a choice on those choices. And it is very much about narrowing it down to usually two choices, and then you choose one or the other, and you take action on it, and you take movement. That's pretty much what the Chariot's about: movement.
Right.
Whether that movement is flying across the world, moving across the state, or somebody else moving across the state, or whatever, but the choice is yours, and that's the beauty of it.
All in all, we wish
100%.
you a very nice week. I hope it goes well for you guys, and tell us how it's going. And if you have a question about where your Aquarius house is, we're always happy to answer any questions you might have.
Post your chart.
Here to help.
Post your chart if you want to share it. Just if you're worried about your birthday or somebody having your real name in your birthday or whatever, either put a fake name in it, or just use one of those little softwares where you can just block out your birthday. I just need to see the chart. I don't really need to see your birthday. So just block it out. And I'll take a look at your chart, and I'll try to help you understand what part of your life things might be changing or shifting. Okay.
Well, we wish you all the very best.
Yeah, make sure you comment, share, whatever you can do. We appreciate that.
Curious how it's going for those of us who are wood dragons. I'm a wood dragon. Happy New Year again. Lunar New Year. And hopefully all is going well for all of you.
All right.
All right, my friends. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology, and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart, so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.